The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
Back in the saddle, I'm Justin.
Oh, I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. I've been on vacation the last few days, but now, and I'm sure JP enjoyed his little break. And
Yeah, it was all right. It was okay. I didn't have much of a break from anything except for podcasting, which is one of the few things in life that gives me some pleasure. But no, it's okay. It's good to kind of take a little break, step away, and come back rejuvenated, refreshed.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. But we are back and ready to go. Everything should be back on schedule. Patreon podcast tomorrow. Back on The Walking Dead Mondays, all that good stuff. But today, we're heading back. We're going back a few podcasts, and we're revisiting or rediscussing Skinwalker Ranch. It was, judging by the comments, it was one that the listeners seemed to really enjoy, and so now JP's been watching a little bit of the History Channel show based on it. You got a little bit more knowledge on it. You listened to a little bit of what I sent you, so we're just going to discuss it again. There's not really a presentation here. We're just going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch, and I think we're going to be revisiting this quite a bit because there's always something developing with it. But so JP, you're kind of the star here, and I say that because I talked a lot about it last time, but now you're a little bit more knowledgeable on it. So just out the gate, man, what are your thoughts on Skinwalker Ranch?
Man, it's definitely some kind of geologic. I don't. Like you said, it is almost like a landlocked Bermuda Triangle. I've been watching that Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, man, and it's crazy. Number one, it's crazy that their research team, it's a total sausage fest. They need like a foxy scientist chick.
Kind of like American Pickers. Like you got these two dudes, and then you remember they used to have the really attractive girl that was with them. Like you need to level the playing field a little bit.
You need a little eye candy on there.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. And it doesn't have to be like a supermodel, but give me like a foxy chick with some glasses, show a little cleavage under a lab coat. I just think it'd make for better viewing. But all that aside, man, I think it's crazy. All the I guess you go back. They say that the Native Americans, when they were conquered by some other tribe in that area, they put a curse on the land. And that might not be exactly right, but it's something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely Native American folklore, like dating back on the property.
Yeah, and now a lot of these researchers, especially ones that actually want to like tamper, so to speak, with the land, do digging, excavation, end up with these horrible ailments. Like one dude straight up, he was doing some digging, and I'm not even talking like with a backhoe. I think he was just like just digging for whatever reason. I can't remember, but he gets these headaches, and then his scalp literally starts separating from his skull. The doctors have no idea why it's happening, what's going on.
This was on that show, on the History Channel show, right?
On that show. This is one of the caretakers, and he's part of the research team. And it started happening again because, they're out there looking at the mesas because it was one mesa, they said, just for whatever reason was illuminated at night. And so they're out there doing this stuff. And again, he starts having the same sort of migraines, headaches. They get him off the property, get him to the ER. And the doctor said it's happening again, and who knows? It could be some weird, random genetic anomaly, but it's very bizarre that it only happens on this ranch when they're, doing research on the land. Because there's one researcher that he's actually like an astrophysicist or something. He wants to see what the source of this radiation they keep picking up on is. He wants to really go deep into the soil and see what's up. But, the guy who owns the place is like, look, I don't want people dropping dead left and right. We don't know what's causing this. And his whole thing is we're not going to find out what's causing it unless we get in there. So.
Well, it is bizarre, too, that the family that bought the farm, and forgive me for not remembering their names exactly, but they were the family that eventually sold it to the Bigelow guy. Rob Bigelow, I think was his name. Yeah. But the family that owned it before when they bought the property, as we talked about in our first discussion, there was like a clause in the agreement that they made with the former landowners that they would not do any digging on the property without their permission, which I'd be like, dude, if I'm paying money, unless you give me a crazy deal, if I'm buying this property, it is my property. If I want to drill a 11,000-foot hole and just drop firecrackers down it, damn it, it's my land. I do what I want. But that was part of the agreement, was that they were not supposed to dig without permission, which makes you wonder. And now you're saying, because I've only seen a little bit of that show, now you're saying that they don't want to dig out of safety concerns. It seems like there's a lot of not wanting to dig going around.
Yeah, the new owner, he's more or less like, let's use instrumentation, like ground penetrating sonar device kind of stuff, before we actually like physically go in and dig. And the guy they brought into this, he's kind of the newcomer. He's just like, well, what the hell, you can't you can't get to the bottom of this until we have like physical samples,
right?
And figure out, and like that, like they found like a sinkhole, somewhere, like it's under the rocks, like a little subterranean cavern kind of thing. They tried to explore that, and dude starts getting lightheaded and dizzy. And again, this is History Channel, so it he could be jiving it up some for the entertainment factor. But
well, and if you are new to the podcast, and if you are a longtime listener, you know this. But if you're new, a little tidbit: JP and I are always very skeptical on the paranormal. We don't dismiss it. And we're open-minded to listen, and we'd love to discuss it, but we try not to just immediately believe everything until we really get into it. There's always two sides to a story, and you got to kind of reserve judgment until you've gotten it. And but it seems like so what we'll do is we'll take these people at their word for now. The show could absolutely be there have been some things that I've seen and that you've seen that definitely don't seem like they would be easy to fake. But then there are other things like, I don't feel good, could totally be done for the cameras. But let's just assume for the sake of discussion that these people are being honest and they do really feel the way that they say they do, and it's not just hyped up for the show. But so it's like it's kind of like this place is the mecca for all supernatural things. You notice that? I mean, you've had everything from UFO sightings to actual skinwalkers to giant wolves to weird creatures and cattle mutilation and paranormal. Like in the house, they had like poltergeist type activity. It almost seems like somewhere on that property there's a portal to another world. Yeah,
it kind of exists like along a boundary, almost like a fault line between this reality and another one.
Yeah, well,
and just bleeds through.
And I have to think, if you've ever seen Lost, which I know you've watched a little, but you didn't watch the whole show. And spoilers, if you ever plan to watch Lost, which by God, the show's been off the air for about 10 years now, coming up on 10 years. So you've had your chance, but I'm going to spoil it a little bit. But I can't help think of the parallels between the island on Lost and Skinwalker Ranch. The island on Lost was just teeming with supernatural activity. And it's really weird because Lost, even though it's my favorite show ever, it definitely had some weird plot lines and some contradicting things that happen. But, you find out a lot of times that the weird things happening are all based in science. But the island itself, it had electromagnetic properties that scientists were on the island studying. And it allowed them to teleport stuff. Like it could teleport you off the island. Yeah. Strong. Like they were digging and they found this really like strong pocket of electromagnetic activity. So strong it ripped the dude's cavity through his skull. And killed him. And they were studying the properties of that, and they were able to do some really wild stuff. But then you also find that there's a struggle of good and evil going on, and the island more or less is a cork on a bottle of wine, if you want to kind of imagine. And the wine swirling underneath is evil, is like just this darkness that can consume the whole world. And the island is like the cork sitting on the bottle, keeping that from fully escaping and getting out and wrecking the world, which it's kind of weird. Like I said, they just start making you think it's all science, and then there's like supernatural. It's a great show, but definitely out there. But there are some parallels. It's like, it really seems almost like Skinwalker Ranch is just this plug sitting on this doorway to maybe other dimensions or, something else that allows all these. I mean, because you really do. The next thing you know, they'll say witches have been spotted. I mean, almost every type of paranormal phenomenon you could think of has happened on Skinwalker Ranch. And again, assuming it's not all just for hype and to make money and get attention and all of that. I don't know, man. It really seems like there's something just completely otherworldly.
It really does. I know some people speculate that all these pockets of radiation is because there's actually extraterrestrial, whatever you want, spaceship or something buried beneath the soil. Maybe it was actually like some kind of like extraterrestrial like base of operations there thousands of years ago.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that just like the sands of time eventually just was swallowed up. And
that's I've never thought of that. Like if somebody were to be like, assuming it's not all fake, if you had to give some explanation for what could be going on at Skinwalker Ranch, what do you think? I mean, I would have just been like, it seems like there's some doorway to other universes or something that's letting just weird stuff in. But dude, that's pretty cool. I mean, I hadn't thought of that. Like there could be an extraterrestrial spaceship that is, responsible for a lot of this. I like that. Was that on the show?
I think
or did you just think of that?
I want to say I've heard someone mention something like that, or maybe I did think. I don't know, man. When I'm at home watching TV, there's lots of stuff going on. But and you think about it, maybe like some of this, the strange energy emanating from some kind of extraterrestrial technology could cause mutations. We talk about skinwalkers and stuff. There could have been, beings on that ship that escaped and over time evolved into whatever people are encountering now. It's a lot of unknowns.
Well, let's go back. So, the original, I'm going to call them the second owners, the ones that sold it. No, the ones before that, because there was people they sold it to the next people, and then those people sold it to the Bigelow fella, and he's since sold it. Yeah. But so pre-Bigelow, we'll call it BB, before Bigelow. Okay. That family. Let's go back to the very first paranormal thing or weird thing that they experienced on the property was when they were pulling up to move in. They had that experience with the giant wolf. They said this wolf's shoulder was standing like, all wolves basically, if you stand them up on the hind legs, they'll, a lot of them are close to average male height. Mm-hmm. But this thing was on all fours and pretty much looking him in the eye. It was humongous. Like you just said, if there was some kind of radiation emanating for years, or what could be hundreds, if not thousands of years, it could definitely kind of transform some of the local wildlife and cause genetic mutations and things such as a giant wolf. But the thing that's weird about the wolf, it didn't seem to be affected by bullets. He shot it with a .357 Magnum, and then I'm pretty sure he got a hunting rifle and shot at it. And they found skin that had fallen off of it, and the skin was decayed and rotten. But this was finding it immediately after it had fallen off. So there definitely, it seems like there could be, and I'm no scientist, so anybody that does understand biology, chemistry, things like that, please, number one, comment. Number two, we'd love to have you on the show to help explain some of this a little better. But I mean, it definitely seems like that's in the realm of possibility. I mean, if it's alien to this planet, I mean, who knows what the effects of its radiation could do? Oh gosh,
who knows, man?
Would you visit Skinwalker Ranch?
I would visit it, yeah.
I'd love to.
Absolutely.
We need to review some footage. So I told you years ago, and we're not going to get too far off on this. Actually, it wasn't years ago. It was like a year ago. We won't get too far on this, and we're going to stay on Skinwalker Ranch. But remember I told you, we had our own little paranormal experiences videos where we talked about weird things that have happened in our lives. Mm-hmm. And I told you about that wolf coyote human thing that I never saw, but it was basically following me through the woods, getting closer and closer and howling. And we've since been told it could be a Sasquatch, a dog man, different things. Well, I really need to comb through it. I didn't realize that I got some drone footage last year, all over that property. Yeah. Where you've been down there a time or two where I've actually taken the drone up, and it's like 10 minutes worth. We should definitely sit down one day and just see if we can spot anything.
Yeah, I'd be very interested.
I would like to go down there and take the drone up and fly, because I didn't fly. I flew over the woods some, but I would like to take the drone up and fly over the woods some and see if we can find anything. Because you and I had said that we were going to go down there one weekend and just see there's not really been too many weird experiences on that property except for that, but just to see if there's anything out of I hunt down there pretty regularly, but just to see.
Yeah.
So we might, that'd be a cool video. Maybe we could do that as like a bonus video.
I'd enjoy that.
But anyways, back to Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, the experiences there. I saw a video sent to me by our good pal Derek Patterson, who actually does not live that far from Skinwalker Ranch, I think. And Derek, feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Either he lives not too far from it. I know he's been like to the gates.
Yeah.
But he sent me a video from that History Channel show, and like you said, some things are hard to fake. Not that they're impossible to fake, but they would be harder. And they've got this video where this surveillance footage where this I think they ended up finding the cow dead later, but like you see clear as day this object in the sky.
Yeah.
And the cow reacts to it, and as far as I know, there aren't really that many actor cows out there. I know they have acting bears and dogs, but you don't see too many trained cattle. Not saying it's impossible. Cows are not dumb by any means. But it reacts. It starts acting strange at the same time the strange object can be seen in the sky above it. I mean, it was pretty wild footage, man. As a skeptic, which I will say outright, I do totally believe in extraterrestrials. I feel like anybody who doesn't believe in extraterrestrials just doesn't understand how massive the universe is, and it's constantly expanding. And I mean, I could be wrong. We could be alone, which is a scary thought.
You've had experiences, haven't you?
Some, but I'm skeptical, so I try to think.
Extraterrestrials.
Well, I mean, not with them themselves. I mean, I've seen things in the sky. I've had 2 or 3 experiences. One of those, though, I as a skeptic, am happy to admit. Well, I don't know if I'm happy to admit, but I'm willing to admit I was pretty intoxicated. And so was the other guy. You know what I mean? I mean, the thing is, we both have the same memories, and we both, I'm not going to say I was completely just belligerent, but I mean, I was feeling good. We had a few beers, But yeah, I've seen some things, I saw
a magnificent green light falling through the sky one night on the way home from work. It looked exactly like you would have
recently.
It's been since I've worked with you, yeah.
Why have you not told me?
I told you about it.
Did you?
Probably, but it looked like you would have thought that someone had just murdered a Green Lantern and his ring was going to find its next recipient. And I drove. Highway 29 meets 58. I got off. I went to 58, and it was I didn't see where it ended up but it was it's nothing I'd ever seen. It was like a falling. I don't know, man. And maybe that's some kind of meteorological activity that I'm not aware of. But
well, see, that's bizarre because one of my experiences or things that I saw was on Highway 58 as well.
Wow.
Yep, I was a little bit further down, not too much further. I'm talking a mile or 2. I wasn't too much further down with 29 meets 58. But I was headed out of town, and I mean, I put it on Facebook. I was clear-minded. I was sober because I definitely wouldn't be belligerent and driving. Everything was fine. It was not late. I wasn't tired. I can't go through and try to think of it. At first, I thought they were lanterns. How people let lanterns go when people die or, whatnot. So I'm going down the road, and I thought that's what it was. But then I realized it wasn't because this thing was emanating it wasn't like a dull glow. I mean, it was each one of these individual little lights, and there were at least 12, were bright as hell. And they were way brighter than a little flame torch does, And it was silent. I mean, I rolled my window down. I mean, it was so obvious, too. This wasn't one of those things where I'm looking way up in the sky. This thing only looked to be maybe 1,000 feet in the air. It was not way up in the ozone. And I'm like, oh, God, aliens. It was so, I rolled down my window, and I didn't hear anything. And then I pulled over to one of the little turnarounds and stopped and just watched it. And it wasn't going fast. It was all 12 lights. I don't know if they were all coming from one thing or they were all their own individual thing, but they were moving in perfect sync. Judging by it, I would have guessed they were all connected to one thing. If this was a ship or something, they would have all been connected to the same platform on the bottom, but they were all moving in sync and without making a single freaking sound. And I put it on Facebook. I was because none of my friends know that we're weird and we have a paranormal podcast on YouTube. So, that's not normally something I would put on Facebook. So I'm not, normally the guy that's throwing stuff like that out there. But I had said, did anyone see anything weird on 58? Were there lanterns being released? And I actually had 2 or 3 people say, I saw that too. Yeah. Definitely not lanterns. And but nothing ever became of it. Like no news source covered it. Apparently quite a few people saw it, but no one really talked about it. Yes. It's really bizarre, man. And it's like other times when I think I've seen a UFO, I can say, it probably was a falling star. It probably was because a lot of people will be like, UFO. And you're like, that's a plane, So I don't know, man. But, they've seen UFOs over Skinwalker Ranch. They've cattle mutilations. And some of these mutilations are just they're surgical. Mm-hmm. In order to replicate some of these, you'd have to have like a trained surgeon performing these.
You would have to.
And it's, I don't know. Part of me thinks that it all is just a big hoax from the BB before Bigelow owners, just because a lot of times, a lot of the things that happen. Now, his wife, I think his name's Terry. Mm-hmm. I think the owner before Rob was Terry. But a lot of the things he experienced, it's kind of like Al Gore with Man, Bear, Pig on South Park. Yeah. Until, he was real. But, a lot of the things that he experienced were like he was experiencing. Like there was a whole thing where he saw this creature in a tree when he was by himself patrolling. And this was after they had sold the land, but still hired him on as like the land tenant or, keeper or whatnot, like property manager. And he sees it and he shoots at it. And then he calls for backup and they're running through the woods and they get separated from him somehow. And then they hear 2 more shots. And then he's like, oh, I saw it again. But none of them saw it. And it was like, oh, that's convenient. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Then past that, there still are some really bizarre things. Like I was listening to this whole thing on YouTube about stories from people, not Terry, like they worked for Ned's or whatever the research company Bigelow had that was, which Derek told me. Actually, the crazy thing is I thought the Bigelow guy funded all of that, but there's proof now that like he had government funding. So like the government even thinks that there's something
on the show. Yeah, the government's pumped a lot of money into it. Yeah,
like the government who is a little bit tight with a dollar at times, is throwing tons of money into this, which makes you think like there may be something up with it.
There definitely is, man. There's too many things that are not explainable, and as you said, the government's not just going to, they're not going to throw money into a hole for something like that.
Yeah, I'm not saying the government doesn't waste money, but a lot of times when it comes to studying the paranormal, which, then again, I don't know. I think I'm a little wrong because the government definitely did spend a lot of time studying remote viewing. You had like the whole MK Ultra thing and, it's all that. But anyways, I think if the government's throwing money into it, it's definitely more than just tall tales. Now, whether there's anything paranormal or maybe just some electromagnetic anomaly, they're definitely interested in whatever's there.
Maybe that's where they're developing 5G. Maybe that's why this guy's scalp came off.
Oh, man.
Who knows?
Oh, man.
It could be the source of 5G right there.
A lot of people are really worried about 5G. Are you? I know we podcasted about it back in the day, but are you?
No, I'm very worried about it. Yeah, it can be used to mess with people's minds, mind control, give you a brain aneurysm. There was a group, and I forget the country, but it was an African nation where a group of rebels straight up burned down a 5G tower. They were like, not in our backyard. Go to hell.
I saw that.
I don't blame them. It is scary, man. It's very scary. And I don't know how things are going to work out, but
I don't know, man. I would love to visit Skinwalker Ranch, and I definitely wouldn't be one of these douches that would be like, I want to go there and disprove it. No, I like to have an open mind. Sure. I definitely have reservations about the validity of some things, but I haven't been there. For all I know, that I don't want to I don't want this guy to really have experienced all these things and to be the one douchebag that just instantly assumes he's a lying prick. So I would love to go and just see. If they,
Well, hopefully, perhaps in the near future, we will have that opportunity.
I don't know, man. Maybe if the channel grows enough. I mean, I would absolutely love to take some GoPros. And of course, I mean, I would like to go with somebody who knows the property and just walk around out there, Yeah. But I would love it, man. I would love to check it out.
I mean, I believe we could probably get access, maybe not in the ranch itself, but, some surrounding areas where perhaps we could still encounter, something of sorts. I mean, I want to explore the West, man. I love the West. What little... I only spent like a week out in New Mexico.
You just loved Breaking Bad.
I love Breaking Bad. I am a fan of meth in small doses. But yeah, I would love to go out just all that open area, dude. You just look down the road and it just keeps going.
Well, a lot of movies have glamorized it, and I'm the same as you. I love that landscape. I mean, Westworld, the westerns. You had
mosquitoes.
What was it? You had Breaking Bad. You had No Country for Old Men. I mean, there's just so many films throughout history that make that area look so cool. So I'm like you, man. I definitely would love to go exploring out west, but I'm gonna tell you, there are some weird paranormal phenomenon out in them deserts.
Oh, I know, and that's what we really need to delve into, man. I would love for us to totally relocate the podcast and our lives to like New Mexico or Arizona or someplace like this.
I'm not against that. I just worry that being associated with you out there, you get yourself tied into some drug wars, and I'm really not. I have a daughter now, so I'm not really about that life.
Well, you could be kind of like Mike Ehrmantraut. He had a really good way of separating his work life from his home life.
Yeah, he did,
for a
didn't
while,
he?
Anyway.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And I promise I won't,
Still my favorite character in Breaking Bad.
I promise it won't go down the way it did in the show between...
I was going to say, yeah. I didn't want to spoil it, but that was in the back of my mind. I was thinking like, well, I'm going to tell you, if you're Walter White...
I promise it won't go sour.
But I don't know, man. So we really enjoy talking about Skinwalker Ranch, and the next time we get on this subject, we'll have some more examples of experiences people have had. I mean, this is just you got to understand, this has been going on for so long. Mm-hmm. Again, recommending other channels, bedtime stories. I think two of my favorite channels on YouTube right now are Lazy Masquerade and Bedtime Stories. Now, Lazy Masquerade hadn't been pumping out the videos like he used to, but the videos he pumps out are very quality. So, I'm willing to wait for good stuff. He does excellent work. Bedtime Stories has become another. I mean, they cover everything from murders to paranormal to, mystery. I just love it. Bedtime Stories. Check the channel out, man. They rock. But they've got a great 2-part, I guess you call it, series. He gives the history of the land and experiences. But both of those, the ones that I sent to you, both of those to the listener, go check those out if you're interested in Skinwalker Ranch, man. He gives so much more of a detailed history of the property. So worth listening to.
Oh, yeah, man. Definitely will. And I look forward to delving back into this topic as the weeks go on.
Absolutely. So now that I'm back in the saddle, I'll start doing some more research. JP's watching that show, so he's on it. I'll start doing a little bit more research into individual experiences there, and we'll revisit with some of those soon. In the meantime, consider hitting that subscribe button. If nothing else, a simple little like will help us out a ton. Also, if you enjoyed it and you want more podcasts, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead, where you get a bonus 2 podcasts a week for as little as $1 a month. So, $1 gets you about 8 extra podcasts a month. Granted, we're not on vacation or something that month, but, which I never take a vacation for a whole month. You might end up missing one, but other than that, on average, you're going to get about 8 extra podcasts a month. Either way, we appreciate you stopping by, and we'll see you patrons tomorrow for the Patreon exclusive podcast, and we'll see the rest of everyone else on Monday for a Walking Dead Monday cast. Mm-hmm. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.